message is the transfer of resource record information between the servers. So we have different things right in that. So when the client makes a query, the DNS server process first look at its own records. So we say, okay, I am the server that has QCell, and this person is requesting for this particular service to Cisco.com. So my QCell server is the first one that will process, that will check for me. If it is not the one that is Cisco, it will pass it to the next server. That server will also say, okay, I am not Cisco server. It will pass it. So all these requests will be passing into each other until they get to that server. So if unable to resolve, it will contact other servers to resolve the name, and the server temporarily stores the numbered address in the event that the same name is requested again. So the next time it is requested, the server will not look for it. It will just go directly, just like your switches will do. So you can use the ipconfig or ipconfig / display DNS. This will also help you to see the DNS name or the domain name entries on your Windows PC. But you can use NSLookup also to do something like that. So the DNS hierarchy, we have the client. So it's request the first thing that the client will request is the secondary domain name, like for instance Cisco.com, and then we have the top level domain. We have the top level domains are the .com, .org, you can call .org, .au, .core, .gm, and stuff like that. All of those things are top level domains. So so the hierarchy of DNS servers contain the resource record that match names with addresses. So you can also use this NSLookup. It will help you to also see the names and the server names plus the IP address that is connected to that server, and then you get everything right from there. The NSLookup will help you have a broader information about a particular, so it's easy. So it's a utility that also allows user to manually query the name servers to resolve a given host. So like I said, dynamic host configuration protocol, it helps the administrator to assign to configure a device in the network and assign it to be given IP addresses automatically to the device, any device that requests for IP address, and then it will give it. So it distributes addresses that are leased for a set period of time and then return to the pool for reuse if they are not used for a period of time. DHCP is usually employed for an end user device. So static addressing is used for network devices such as gateways. So if you're doing a DHCP configuration, there are some IP addresses that you need to set out. That means those IP addresses must not be part of the range of addresses that you should be assigning, because DHCP will automatically assign an IP address, and if devices are not connected, their IP addresses for a period of time, their IP address will get lost. So when they come back competing for the same IP addresses, device, for instance, you give your router's IP address in a range, and then you give your switch's IP address in that range, a PC can take that IP address, and then the gateway IP address will change. So therefore, the gateway IP address, your server IP address, your switch IP address, some devices in your network that are very, very important and need to be, their IP address needs to stay on them. You need to make sure the IP addresses are statically assigned, and then you exclude them from your DHCP configuration so they're not duplicate, or some another device doesn't use them. So there's the process that DHCP would use to update, to give IP address to a client. So first, I come with my laptop to QuantumNet Institute of Technology. For instance, I connect it to the cable, the network cable. So the first thing my device will do is to request for an IP address, because if a device does not obtain an IP address, it cannot have access to the internet. So my device will discover the DHCP server by sending a DHCP discovery message. So as soon as my computer sends a discovery message, the server is active. The server can be your access point. It can be your laptop that you configured as a DHCP. It can be your computer that is configured as a DHCP. It can be your router. It can be anything. It can even be like, maybe for instance, I use my laptop and configure it as hotspot, and I'm connecting another laptop through that laptop. So my laptop at that point is going to be the DHCP server, because it's the one that should give IP address to the other PC that I am using to connect to the internet, that the new PC that I am going to use. So in that case, I do not have a lot of simulation softwares. Otherwise, I would have been doing all of these things in a simulation format, so you guys see how these things are done. But I will just be explaining, and I hope you guys will understand. So the DHCP offer will come from the DHCP server saying to the PC, "Oh, you are requesting for an IP address, and here is what I have for you." Then the the client will say, "Okay," my PC will say, "Okay, I get this one, and this is the IP address I'm going to use for the period." And then the DHCP server will say, "Okay, good. Take that." So DHCP acknowledgement. So if you want to remember, the process is called the DORA process: discover, offer, request, and acknowledgement. So guys, I think the rest of the chapter is not that important. So it's talking about the file transfer protocol, where it requires communication between the client and the server, one for commands and replies. So the TFTP, like I said, sorry, the FTP file transfer protocol establishes the client will establish the first connection to the server for control traffic using TCP port 21, and the client will establish the second connection to the server for the actual data transfer. So that's why port 20 is used for data transfer and port 21 is used for connection establishment between the client and the server. So we have the Samba, the message block that's used. I think that's what I have to stop here for you guys. So I hope you guys understand, and then I hope to see you in my next video tomorrow. So tomorrow we should finish semester 1, and that will be the end of semester 1, and we go into some exams, and from there we go to final exam